Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Alviso. You can see I had Chris out there with me, my teammate Chris Reichert, and I was a little bit late, so here I am on the sideline waiting for the group to come. I missed the first lap, and I'm just going to jump right in. You see, there goes Chris passing me now. And I think it's worth talking about jumping into this race and trying to get up towards the front, because there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And I'm going to try to get up into that kind of top 10, top 15 bubble where the race is actually happening. Attacks are flying, breakaways are getting away. And right now I'm right towards the back. By the way, look at this group. And I am pretty much right at the back of it now. So I want to share maybe some tips on and what my thought process is on how I move up. So we're about to make a right-hand turn here into the tailwind section, and yeah, there goes Chris right up towards the front, already making that corner, and lots of people in front of me. And there's a serious effort going on in the front right now to chase back this one rider, and you can see what the result of that is. Everything is single file behind. Every time you see a big group that's like this and just a single file formation, you know it's going fast. And it's probably not a good time to move up because you're not going to be able to get a good draft on your way up. So I am pretty much locked into position. Again, I'm right at the back now. There's nobody behind me. And I'm going 33 miles an hour. I mean, I could do a big sprint and move up like 5 wheels right here, get up to maybe 38, 40 miles an hour. But what's the point of that, right? I don't want to waste all that energy just to move up 5 spots when I can do it for free almost. I mean, look at me now. I'm at 0 watts. And everyone's kind of starting to coast and get prepared for this corner. And I'm just going to use all that momentum that I've built up in the draft. And I'm going to come across, and I just passed at 150 watts, 200 watts. I just passed like 15 riders pretty much for free. Maybe 20, 25 riders for free coming into this corner. And I preserved my speed, so this is doubly beneficial because not only did I not have to make that effort to pass the riders, I also didn't have to make a big acceleration coming out of that corner. Sure, I had to go up to 400 watts or something, but I didn't have to really spike my power to get back up to speed and to re-accelerate to the group. Meanwhile, Chris is at the front, and he is having to make these big accelerations, and this is a good opportunity to talk about both teamwork and just kind of how pack dynamics work. If I'm mid-pack, I don't feel these accelerations. Chris just did like 1300 watts to get onto this wheel, and I didn't feel it at all. What happens is the group stretches out a little bit. Quick tip, by the way, if you see the group stretching out like this, you know it's going real fast on the front, and this is a really dangerous moment. And if you don't have any teammates, you're sitting mid-pack, and the group is all stretching out single file, you're really rolling the dice because it is easier. I'm doing much less watts than Chris is towards the front right now. But you run the risk of a breakaway getting away that you're not a part of. And you run the risk of a split happening in front of you that you're not even aware of either. But in this case, I do have a teammate, Chris, up the road. And this isn't something that we talk about, before the race. Hey, lap 2, Chris, I want you to be at the front. This is just like routine bike racing fundamentals 101, where when Chris is up towards the front, I'm getting a rest, and I have all the confidence in the world that Chris is not going to let a group get away. And then again, when the group slows down, after it stretches out, that's a good chance for me to move up a few more wheels at the cost of very little energy. So this is like the dynamic that's happening back and forth. And it's completely different if you're by yourself than it is when you have a teammate. All right, so fast forward. This is a couple of kilometers later, and I found myself in my favorite slingshot position, about 10th wheel that I've talked about. And I've gotten here pretty efficiently by following those tips I talked about. So now that I'm in position, my teammate's up towards the front, it is time to launch an attack, and that's what I do right here. Come out of the draft, come past the front riders with some speed, and the timing's good because I was in position, plus we were just about to catch this group, so there's a little bit of confusion, and this is the dynamic that you want, by the way, when racing with teammates. When you have a teammate who's up towards the front, in this case it was Chris for me, who was chasing attacks, who was attacking himself, who was spending quite a bit of energy to make sure that our team is represented in each move that is up the road. Meanwhile, I'm sitting back, I'm saving energy, and I'm putting my confidence in Chris. And now that Chris has kind of done his turn, it's my chance to get off the front, and then Chris can sit back, and he can lean on these other teams and make sure that they're doing most of the work to chase this back. And that's the pattern that you want to get into. It's like a cycle. I attack, Chris sits in, and then Chris attacks and I sit in, and that assures that you have representation for your team up the road at all times, and also you're putting pressure on the other teams to set pace on the front. Okay, so I'm still off the front, and Chris is patrolling the front of the chasing peloton, and he's looking for any chance he can to get a free ride across and join me in the breakaway up the road, which, by the way, now is only down to a handful of seconds. And as he gets in the draft of this bicycle law rider's wheel, he simultaneously drops his chain and has to fully unclip to save it, which was pretty epic. Yeah, you know it's bad when you look down and you can see your shoe up by your front wheel in this GoPro footage, so glad he kept it upright. Okay, so a lap later, Chris gets his chain situation sorted out, jumps back in. I've been on the front for the last lap, just making sure that we're represented in the front group, so I've been doing a lot of attacking, a lot of chasing, and Chris recognizes that. So again, there's the cycle, and that prompts Chris to jump off the front right here, do an attack, and allows me to sit back, relax, stop this chase effort for these last two riders, and really force the other teams to do the chasing. Incidentally, he knocked off his magnet on his power meter, so it's secret confidential watts from here on out. No, actually, I talked with him after the race, and just to put this level of effort into perspective, he was doing something like probably 4:25, 4:30 for the last 10 minutes of this race when he was off the front by himself, and at his weight, that's in like this kind of 6.2 to 6.3 watts per kilogram range. So yeah, it's nice to have Chris on my team. Yeah, because if he's doing 6.2 to 6.3, it's going to take 6.4 to 6.5 watt per kilogram effort to chase him back, and all the while I'm just able to sit back in the draft and do just a fraction of that. So the power of teamwork, you guys. All right, so there was never really a proper chase effort that coalesced at the front and got organized enough to chase Chris back. So Chris ended up rolling in solo, go solo 'cause YOLO for the win. And I just kind of wanted to recap like the last kilometer or two from my perspective, because I still wanted to take the field sprint and try to navigate that and talk you guys through that. Starting with this great effort by Zach here on the left, putting in an attack when I was kind of caught out on the front, so that was a pretty smart move right there. It's really hard to chase when somebody comes flying past you like that. You guys know that's my move, and Zach did a good job to come past me with some speed. If I just would have put my head down and chased him back, I would have let out the field and lost the race. So instead, I slot in right here, and I want to point out, I chose this position right here specifically. I didn't want to fall back to like 15th position or 10th position, something like that. I also didn't want to be first or second in this position also, because really what you're looking for is how much distance is there left to the finish and who's in front of you. And then you really want to get the timing right. So by the time you're hitting the front, it's about 200 to 250 meters to go where you can launch your sprint. And an interesting thing happens right here. These two Thirsty Bear guys in the light blue kit. Jerome's behind me. He's a great sprinter. And I managed to sneak in between Jerome and his lead out guy. So now I'm in this Thirsty Bear sandwich. And that actually becomes really important for the finish. We'll talk about that in a second, but for right now, we're 650 meters to go. I'm really like my position still. I'm really confident that at about 200 meters, maybe 250 meters to go in this tailwind sprint finish, I'm going to be dropped off at just the right time to launch a winning sprint. Now, I want to talk for a minute about how these Thirsty Bear guys could have bested me in this sprint, because I'm in this very vulnerable position right now where had the Thirsty Bear guy in front of me gotten to the front at like 500 meters to go and then dropped me off with maybe 400 meters to go in the wind at the very front of the race, that is way too early, and what I would have ended up having to do is basically lead out Jerome, the Thirsty Bear sprinter behind me. But he never looked back. I don't think he realized that it was me that was on his wheel, so he, accidentally led me out. I waited for the tailwind, about 200 meters to go, put my head down, and just unleashed a 43 mile an hour sprint, which wasn't quite good enough for second, because that great move by Zach stayed away for the second spot on the podium. But I took third, and Chris was up the road winning, so it was a good day overall, and had a lot of fun out there. Thanks for watching, guys, and catch you at the next one.